Good morning. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me. Like Michael said, my name is Ahava Liebtag, and I'm the principal at AHA Media Group. We are a content strategy consultancy. We work mostly in the healthcare space, although as you can see this year we did pick up some hip-hop online sites, which was very interesting. I was on Skype with one of my writers the other night, and she's like, "Oh, you're in Chicago. Are you there for a hospital or a rapper?" So it's a strange mix of things. Before we start today, I would like to play a game with you that we will come back to at the end. So remember your visuals in your head. The first thing I'd like to ask you to do is visualize a mouse. And now I would like to ask you to visualize a mouse on your desk. And now I would like to ask you to visualize a mouse on your desk eating cheese. Okay, we will come back to that. So today we are going to talk a little bit about the mobile landscape, although quite frankly I think we covered it yesterday. I also want to talk to you about creating a mobile content strategy, creating something that I call user scenarios, which will help pull everything together for you, testing mobile content easily and cheaply. I know that's always interesting to people, and making the case to your leadership for mobile content testing. So I had a lot more slides about the landscape, but then last night I took them all out because it seemed to me that we pretty much covered it. If you don't have a mobile content strategy or a mobile mobile website or a mobile application, you are doomed, right? That's really what all the experts are saying. And so 1/3 of companies now have a mobile marketing strategy. So that's about a third, right? But 62% plan to launch one in the next year. So clearly it is something that's very important, and we know that people are accessing more and more content on a daily basis mobily. This is an interesting graph about how we use them. I don't really like graphs, and I feel bad about that. I feel like I should write my 10th grade math teacher an apology letter, because I said to her once, I'm going to be a writer, and I don't ever need to know anything about numbers. And I turned out to be a content strategist. I think I deal more with numbers than I do with words. But in this graph, we talk about how we're using them, and then in the next 12 months, how that might change. But this statistic I had to talk about. Okay. So they asked people, if you were given this list of things and told that you could only save two, half of those aged 16 to 22 and 48 of those aged 23 to 30 would give up their sense of smell to keep a mobile device or a laptop. No more, or this, or even these. Could you imagine how different walking through the mall would be if you didn't have your sense of smell? Just to keep one of these devices. So it's very clear, certainly as Christina said, of those that are coming up, this is the most important thing. This is the way they access information. This is how they see the world, through these devices. So let's talk about creating a mobile content strategy, okay? I thought Christina's here. Good. So it was amazing when she told you don't read her book. That is totally wrong. You must read her book. It's a classic. I remember, I will never forget this moment. I was lying next to my husband in bed reading, and I looked at him and I said, somebody else feels my pain. Somebody else out there knows what this job is like. It was like really, really an exciting moment. And Content Strategy is a fabulous community. You'll meet great people. The Twitter stream is amazing. Everyone's interested in sharing and talking and collaborating, and it's really fantastic. So I really, really recommend you read that book. You will never regret it. It just lays everything out really clearly. And she's fun, too. Just the way she is in person, she is in the book. So let's talk about content strategy basics, and this is directly from the text, right? Content strategy has two major goals, right? The first is that you must align your content with your business strategy. Whatever the business strategy is, making money, getting donors, whatever that would be in healthcare, bringing in patients, the content must speak to that. The second thing about content strategy is that the content should support the users in accomplishing their goals and tasks. Does anybody know who this is? Very good. You get a free question at the end. Okay, so Jack Welch ran GE for 20 years, and he had a fascinating management structure. What he used to do is he had his management review every single employee once a year at their annual review. Most of us are familiar with this. And if you were a bottom performer, if you were 10%, they fired you. Goodbye, gone. But if you were in the top 20%, they said to you, listen, we've identified you as the top 20% of potential leaders in this company. And what we want to do is we want to move you around this company every 2 years because we want you to understand how GE makes money. And through moving people around every 2 years into jobs that they wanted to do, where they felt like they could learn something and apply their talent, they were able to move up management ranks because they understood how GE makes money. That's what your job is if you're a content strategist. You must understand the business model. The only way to do that is, like Christina said, is to ask the tough questions. So content strategy really is the business strategy plus the content equals the revenue. It's the most important thing about what you do, because at the end of the day, when you have to prove why it was worthwhile for this company to invest in your services or in this job that you want to do, you want to prove that you really did affect the bottom line. So when you're starting off thinking about a mobile content strategy, and these questions are really the same for a regular content strategy too, or your basic content strategy, how will it provide return on investment? How can we create valuable content, and how do we define that? I'll get to that. How is it delivered? How do they find it? And when, how often, why do you change it, right? Particularly in a mobile environment, this is critical because people depend on information being up to date and to the minute. So let's talk about challenges in mobile environments. Speakers touched on these also. Ginny Reddish. Ginny Reddish is probably the grandmother of content strategy, and she wrote a really important book that you also must read called Letting Go of the Words. When I started, Ginny trained me. I first started in this field because I worked for the government and I took a class in web writing. And it's a really, really great book. And what she says is that every communication is a conversation mediated by technology. Now, what she said was really fascinating. She got a PhD in linguistics at Harvard, and then she started doing human factors research. She worked for Xerox for a while. I think as a consultant, she was writing technical manuals for them. And she was writing these technical manuals, and they were crap, right? I mean, like, nobody understood them. Nobody could use them. And so she started to develop this theory that when we're talking to people through any type of communication, we need to use plain language, active voice, you instead of us, right? Get the message through. It's almost like it's a conversation. And so in a mobile environment, it's particularly important to understand that your customers are having a conversation with you, but it's being mediated by a technology that A, changes on them rapidly, right? Like every year there's something new to learn, some different kind of cell phone or BlackBerry or iPhone. And when's the last time you had to relearn how to use a desktop or laptop computer? Right? I mean, it really hasn't changed. But every year, the technology that we have these conversations with our customers on is constantly changing. So what are the major mobile challenges? And I'm going to talk about each of them because I think that they're important to understand when you're setting up your testing paradigm. There's small screen real estate, navigation aggravation, fluid versus fixed environments, and task orientation changes. So let's go through the first one. How many people remember this guy? Okay, so when he comes, this is from Aladdin, a Disney movie, I think in the early 90s. No, yeah, early 90s. And when the genie comes out of the lamp, he says to Aladdin, I have awesome cosmic powers, itty bitty living space, right? And that's what a mobile device is really, right? Like, we depend on it. It's extremely powerful. It enables us to access incredible pieces and amount of content and information, but it's tiny. It's like hard to figure out where we are and what we're doing with it. The other problem with small screens is there's a problem called what I call big straw love, right? Which is that designers, mobile visual designers, they suck everything up from the main site and they right into the mobile application or website, right? Without any strategy about what potentially their users are looking for really in a mobile situation. And so what ends up happening is that very often if you compare the traditional website to the mobile homepage, you'll see this continuum of 100% the homepage on the mobile site or anywhere in between to all the way down to too simple, right? Where users can't even access really the information that they might need in that moment. Then we have something called navigation aggravation. So I have a BlackBerry, which I'm kind of thinking of throwing against the wall. And Bank of America is my bank, and one time I wanted to access my account. I needed to know something about how much money was in it. And I came to this screen. I went to my browser and I typed in bankofamerica.com and I came to this mobile banking. So it gave me 3 menu options. Fine. So I clicked sign in and there was no field there. There was no field to put in my online ID. So I had to go back in, and finally I get the field. And meanwhile, I'm in the middle of doing something or like 1,000 other things, right? And so I'm annoyed that this is taking so long. And then I get to this screen, right? And they're like, welcome! Like, not welcome, you know? So I click enter. So what do I think I'm going to see when I click enter, right? My account should show up. No, it again gives me another menu. It's hard to see here, but accounts, bill pay, etc. So really, really frustrating, and there are thousands of examples of this all day long where people are trying to navigate on a mobile device and they can't get to the information that they really need. This is what happens when I sign into Bank of America at home, right? My accounts come up, it's clean, I can access the information I need. I have no idea what this says. I have no idea what that says. I don't even pay attention to that. But that center information is what really should have come up as soon as I access the mobile site. Now I want to talk about fixed versus fluid environments. And I think that this is a really important concept to understand when you're setting up your testing. So a fixed environment is something that I define as somebody at their office, at a desktop, on a tablet, on their couch at home. The distractions are few, right? Your kids might be yelling at you, or your roommate asks you a question, or whatever it is. But most of the time you are stationed in one place and the inputs that you're getting are few. In a fluid environment, the inputs are many, and you're getting a lot of things thrown at you at once. So think about the metro or subway, walking on the street, in the middle of a shopping mall. So in a fixed environment, you're able to focus on what you're doing, but you're also open to exploring other potential content options because the need in the moment is not happening for you. But this is what a mobile environment is like, right? It's coming at you fast and furious. And so your attention is extremely focused on the task at hand. What you need to be doing, what you need to get done, what piece of information you need to lead you to the next task. It's a very, very fluid environment. And so when you're testing, you need to think about the different ways that your users may access your content to understand what other distractions are coming at them. In a traditional fixed environment, you can give people sidebars and you can ask them if they want to look at other content, through the jump, through the link. But in a mobile environment, we need to narrow down specifically what exactly it is that our users are looking for. Then I talk about something called task orientation changes, right? So to me, this is a really good example of what happens in a fixed and fluid environment. In a fixed environment, and I chose Kayak because I think they don't suffer from big straw love, right? Like they thought about what their traditional website looked like. It has forms, people can access it. It's very, very simple, and they've been lauded for that. But in the fluid, more mobile environment, they even get smarter about directing people to exactly what they want. Because their designers understood that when people are accessing a travel site from a mobile device, they probably need to know right now, right? Or they're not like open to searching the fare or finding out what flight would be best for them, right? They're probably either in the airport or on their way to the airport, and the information is critical to them right now. So they chose a really smart interface to represent something that's a little bit more fixed. So task orientation changes are really, really, really critical when you're thinking about the types of content that your users might want from your traditional website versus what they're going to want to access from your mobile website or your mobile application. So the types of conversations in a mobile environment are task-focused, information-focused, or what I like to call distraction-focused. So I don't know about you, but I don't talk to anybody anymore, like on airplanes or in public, or nobody says anything to anyone because everyone's like this all the time, right? They're constantly accessing. And I don't think that all those people are task-focused. Not everyone is making a reservation or finding a movie time or looking up how much it's going to cost to fly to Costa Rica that week. Most people are like streaming through their Twitter stream or their Facebook status updates. They're looking to be distracted from whatever it is that's going on around them. So these are the types of conversations when you're thinking about testing mobile content that you want to make sure that you're thinking about in terms of how your users are thinking about interacting with that content. Okay, so let's talk about something that I call user scenarios, because I think that this is the most valuable thing you can do when you go back to your offices or as a consultant for your clients. User personas have been in use for many, many years. If you want more information about them, Jared Spool has a great website, spooluie.net, and he has a lot of great articles about user personas. And does anybody here not know what a user persona is? Okay, great. So what user scenarios are an outgrowth of user personas. So let's take, how can we learn more about our users, right? So these are all things